So welcome to the listing contract. And the listing contract is everything. Listing agents control the market. Number one, what's one of the biggest benefit of having the listing?
You're going to get a commission whether you sell it or not.
Well, hopefully you'll have every agent trying to find a buyer for you. And yeah, you do have this much work to get paid, basically. You know, you do all the upfront work. But here's the beautiful thing is, most of our ads are for our listings, right? And you can get so many leads for every listing you get. The general rule is for every listing you get, you also get a sale, but a client, right? So hopefully you get the listing sold and you get one more buyer from it, and then if you do a really good job, you can help the buyer and the seller of the home and get more clients. And so by one listing, you're just getting a bunch of different things if all goes well. When you help a buyer, you're helping a buyer. You know, you're going to help them find a home, and if hopefully you get a referral from it, but what's the likelihood they're going to sell a home in the next 2 or 3 months after that, right?
Right.
Listings are how you perpetuate your business. And if there's anything you want to start from day one focusing on, it's getting listings, right? So, for example, here you go. Like, here is 246, 246, 246. So these are the ads we ran for our listings. This doesn't include anything that I did from Listing Power Tools. It doesn't include the MLS. It doesn't include any of the property tours or virtual tours I did. This is purely Facebook ads that we ran for our listings. Okay, so 30, 57, 79, 110 people there. And then we've got 150, 180, basically 190 leads that we brought in from just one listing.
Yeah, no, Facebook advertising gets responses.
Well, in general, any advertising, but having something to advertise is key.
Yeah.
And you listings, because guess what? Once I sell this, guess what I'm going to do? Just sold ads, and you're going to get even more, right? You have new listing, open house, price reduced, under contract, just sold. You can do so many ads from one listing. And each one of those are going to bring you results. Okay? So, originally, when we were talking about you guys and your, did we actually talk about farming wigwam, for example?
I'm sorry?
Did we actually talk about farming Wigwam Creek?
No, we were just using that as an example.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's do the listing contract really fast. And when you have questions going through it, we'll go through anything you'll have, because it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
So you said that most of our ads are for our own listings. Can you advertise others?
Absolutely. It's
Do you need their permission?
yes and no. Okay. By them putting it in the MLS, when you actually input your listing, one of the very last things is you're giving it permission to go out to the rest of the ID access. That is permission to be able to use it on other websites and things like that.
Okay.
When you actually run an ad through, for example, our Real Geeks Ads Manager, you can do, when you're doing the listings, for example, these are all the listings in Wigwam Creek. You're advertising everybody else's listings. You could hypothetically choose one listing and advertise the crap out of it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just display the listing brokerage. You don't actually display the listing agent, and it automatically does that. So you're within guidelines automatically.
Right. I have to advertise that I work for you.
It does automatically. Yep.
Oh, your ad manager in.
Our ad manager is within guidelines. That's part of the reason we use it. It makes sure everything's done properly. Yeah. Yeah. It'll talk about our brokerage. It'll list the listings.
So how do we access this?
Well, in Real Geeks, that'll be under your little array in the top right. All those dots up here. That's your list of all your fun items, and one of them should be Ads Manager. And I believe Yasmin this week is
Oh
this
yeah,
Thursday,
she's
right?
coming in Thursday.
Because before you can run Facebook ads, you need to set up your Facebook business page and your Facebook audiences, and then you can start running ads. So she's going to walk you through those first 2 steps, so that way you can come on here and do the third one.
Okay. I can't be here on Thursday. You'll record it?
Absolutely.
And I've set up a Facebook business page.
Right on. Yeah. And
Like for my company, I run a Facebook business page
Perfect.
and have preset audiences. Is there anything specific other than the actual going through the process of setting it up, or specific content that's required?
not really. Yasmin will actually meet with you if you. We can give you her information,
Okay.
and she'll sit down with you for lunch and walk you through. Pretty much just making sure it has all the basics we need on everything. So the equal housing opportunity,
Yeah.
MLS look,
That's
you know, all that fun stuff. And then, yeah, when it comes to the audiences, they've pretty much generalized them. I'd be interested in comparing like what you have set up for audiences, like criteria, and ours to see how they. Because I'd imagine, because you're going for employees, so I imagine yours are going to look a lot like my agent audiences, like when I'm looking for agents and owners.
I've tried
It's
a
just
lot of
fun.
different things,
Yeah.
and I've found that if I get too narrow, if I get too narrow, I don't get enough response.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty broad.
And they keep changing it, so they're making you go more and more broad to begin with. Like our criteria, we used to be able to do so many awesome things, and honestly, it's not nearly as neat as it used to be, and it's not nearly as big brothery as it used to be too, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Facebook's gotten in a lot of trouble, so they've had to change a lot of the way they do things.
Right, so, okay. I could set up an audience by zip code if I'm targeting a particular zip code market.
Absolutely, neighborhood, zip code,
Income,
like for
job.
not so much anymore income. They used to be able to narrow it down really good on income. You used to be
Income.
able to narrow, like you can do homeowner, renter. You could do things like that. So let's say you're going to do a first-time home buyer. You could actually target renters, right? You could target people. They change it all the time, and that's why I hate trying to tell people how to do the Facebook stuff, because it's always changing.
That's why we have class on Thursday.
And
You guys-
there's a lot of videos on specifically Facebook advertising, and I would recommend keeping up on those. As much as I try to keep up on it, they change it all the time, and I get so annoyed because I don't have 3 hours to figure out what part of my audience is now different that I need to get rid of, so my ad will be approved again. That's one of the most frustrating things, is going back and forth with Facebook, because they keep declining your ad and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Like there was a time where they went against realtors because they wanted to make sure you were adhering to policy, but they wouldn't tell you what you needed to do, because, for example, we go through Real Geeks. You actually had to go into one screen inside your audiences and approve certain things before it would approve it over here. And unless you knew to go to that one screen, oh my gosh. So yeah, I ended up waiting 24 hours for Real Geeks to come back to me to be able to walk me through that stupid checkmark that I needed to do.
Yeah.
So that's where, as much as I use it, Yasmin and people like her are godsends to realtors like us. Yeah. So, but this is why you need to be utilizing it. And comparatively, they're not hugely expensive. I spent $70 on this and got 30 leads. $70. That's kind of my thing. $5 a day for 2 weeks, because you'll see when I do my listings, I do it in two-week chunks. So my first 2 weeks, new listing. Next 2 weeks, it might be a open house, or it might be a price drop. And then, so every 2 weeks, I'll try to run a different set of ads to keep it in front of people.
Well, if I may, congratulations on your offer on 246 land.
Thank you. Thank you. That was...
So, we can't do the open house. It's like, we gotta find another place to do.
All right.
I got it 5,000 above the next highest sale in the neighborhood for the same house.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Very
Yeah,
good, very
so
good.
Excited about that one.
So proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. We literally got her $10,000 more than Keller Williams, the agent from, what's their, shoot, she does all the advertising now. She's got the, she's got the buyers.
Oh, not Linda. Yep. I'm sorry, I know who, but
Yeah,
yes.
it's her team. She's everywhere now. Yeah, so, right on. That was awesome. Okay, so listings are the name of the game. Whatever you can do, however we can formulate your business up front to try to get as many of them as possible and to get you as good at selling them as possible, that is seriously how you will have the longest, most wonderful career in possible. Russell Shaw, he's all about the listings. That's all they do. He has agents that he basically just keeps busy because he has 100 listings at all times. And if you ever want to grow a team, be able to go on vacations, listings are. You can sell 20 listings while you're gone. Good luck showing buyers homes while you're gone. That's one of those things. So, okay, so the listing contract. It's an exclusive right. There is an EA, and that's an exclusive agency. Anybody care to share the difference between the two?
Well, I don't know about you all, but I like to be very stingy and I don't like sharing, so that's why I have exclusive right.
Okay. So what does that mean specifically? That no.
Well, exclusive agent, we have the exclusive right to agency. And exclusive agency means we have the exclusive, they can also sell it, they can also use another realtor.
Yeah.
It's not exclusive to us.
Exactly. The easy way of saying it is with an exclusive agency, if you sell it, you'll get paid. Pretty much if other people sell it, you won't get paid.
Right.
Exclusive right means no matter what, even if the owner's brother buys the house, you're still going to get paid. Right? And very, very big difference between the two. So make sure that when you create your template in whatever program, make sure it's the ER, not the EA. Okay? Now, we do a lot of rentals and management, right? So a lot of our listing agreements, we do sale and rental because it may start off as a rental and 2 months later the owner might decide, oh, we want to sell it. So we always check all boxes here, okay? Because that's the majority of our clients. The majority of normal clients will only do one or the other, okay? Now, good and bad, because you will find people that, well, let's list it for sale, but if it doesn't sell, I want to rent it out. And they'll try to go that route. What are the good and the bad about going that way?
The loss of commission, that's all. For the moment, you haven't lost your client.
Okay. But as far as the client is concerned, what is it a good idea to do that or a bad idea for the most part? This is an interesting one because let's say you list it for rental, okay? And how do I say this? Okay.
Well, can I just interject?
Yes.
And I could be maybe where you're going, you let me know. The one negative with the rental is that, you know, if they then decide to sell it, it's really hard to show homes that have tenants
There you
in
go.
it. And I think that's probably the one big drawback to it. And so, again, you know, whether or not you have the what do you call it, verbiage that says,
Showing's very hard.
Yeah.
Take that one step
Yeah.
further. A tenant-occupied home, is it easy to sell?
no, it's not,
Why?
because it's
There's no
occupied.
pride in ownership.
There's no pride in ownership, and let's say
They don't
you
take
do
care
find a
of it.
buyer. Can the new buyer just cancel the tenants list? The tenants?
No, and
No.
that's the other negative, is
Exactly.
for the most part, they have to honor the lease unless the quote-unquote seller is maybe willing to buy out.
As much as owners hate having a vacant home and hate having to pay those bills every single month, once they bring in a tenant in any capacity, it's going to really affect the ability to sell the home. Okay, it is very tough to sell a tenant-occupied home. If you have somebody that doesn't need to move in right away and can just adhere to the lease, and that's actually part of their plan, is planning ahead, that's one of the few situations where it works out. And I've finagled a few of those and they're not easy, and they're few and far between.
Well, the other thing is, you know, even if you have a home that is occupied by the owner, that has its pros and cons also.
Even
So
an
it's
owner-occupied
like-
home is hard, exactly, much less a tenant-occupied home.
Yeah.
Tenants have rights, and they can take up to 48 hours to get a viewing, and if they never allow a showing, it's just, so, as much as it seems like a viable alternative to either coincide or do one or the other, try to avoid it, okay? If they wanna rent it out, have them rent it out. If you wanna sell it, try to keep it vacant if possible and easily accessible, okay? Now, what's your average listing contract? How long?
2 pages.
Well, terms.
Oh,
6
I'm
months to
sorry.
a year.
Yeah,
6 months to a year, exactly. If you, the longer the better. Now this is something so cool, okay? Listing contracts, property management contracts, buyer broker contracts, okay? You can finagle all of these really long term. As long as they have a start date and an end date and everybody agrees to it, they can just keep renewing themselves every single year, okay? So no matter what you do, try to get a contract. You could have a book of 20 buyers, and that's a business. You could have a book of 20 properties that you're managing, that is a sellable business. You could have a contract of a book of 20 different listings. That is a sellable book of business. It is something that is worth money. And one of my greatest mentors, David Collage, and I'm so glad I met this guy, because he's got to deal with almost all the sports teams, sports stars. He's got like the Suns, the Cardinals, he's got a bunch of Diamondbacks. And what he does is that he is basically their exclusive agent. Buyer broker, listing, property management. Boom, straight across the board. And he has a book of business for years. Like when a sports star comes in, he gets them with a buyer broker agreement, and he helps them with their primary residence, and then he helps them start investing in property. And on all the agreements, like the buyer broker, you could put industrial, commercial, straight across the board. And him and his daughter have a book of business that when he wants to retire, they can sell it. He's got a great team, and they'll be able to take over, and he'll be able to actually sell his business to somebody. It's awesome.
So are the contracts assignable then?
The way he words them with his team and his
He
daughter,
has an assignment
yep,
clause in all his contracts?
yeah. And there's other details involved with how he can do it, but yeah. It's very cool. Without a contract, you really have no guaranteed business, you know? That's the thing. So, and it was so neat. I went to a couple Suns games with him, and one time we went in, and I was, got to meet Steve Nash, and then we were sitting down, and Bertrand Berry was on one side of me, Darnell Dockett was on the other side of me, and this was years ago when Amari Stoudemire was actually injured. And so he was there in his suit, but he's really close with his mom. So we were sitting right behind his mom and them, and it was one of the coolest things ever. And he's only a realtor with realty executives. That's how he knows all of them. He just found his niche. Oh, wow. So cool. Yeah. So, all right. So 6 months to a year, the longer the better. You never want to. People always try to cut you down. You know, like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You know, do what you're comfortable with. Just make sure you're falling in line with comps. If the average time on market is 60 days, good luck on a 30-day one, you know? So, basic, straightforward, and okay. So price, again, doing comps. This, you know, we just write in the price that we all agree to. You could agree to a horrible price, that's way over. If you could also agree to a great price. So that's where your ability to do comps and communicate with your clients is gonna dictate how well you do on your listing agreement, you know?
Now, if I may, because I saw another agent, and I don't know how it works, but and I really thought that she did it here in the listing, but in doing the comps, you know, because sometimes you have a seller who's just very adamant that theirs is the best house on the market, you know, and it's like, that's okay, but I'll tell you what, you know, let's try it for 2 weeks. If we don't, you know, have any interest or whatsoever, we have an agreement that, and then what she did, what this agent did, so tell me if that's here, where there were increments of time and it was already agreed upon
Yep.
how the price would come down.
It's perfect, exactly. And there's two different ways to go about doing that. Under the additional terms here, like in the contract, or you could actually do the change forms already. I would suggest going there with the change forms already.
Okay.
Okay? And don't put a price in, obviously you'll just, whatever you guys agree to. So, yeah, we'll get to that in just a few minutes.
Nice.
Okay? Hugely, make sure you're selling the right property. Make sure the address is correct. You know. Washer, dryer, fridge. On the listing agreement, I kind of leave it open. You know, they're not mandatory, but they're definitely a perk. And a lot of people hate moving them. So I kind of try to convince them to leave it, but it's, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. If they want to take it, take it. But it definitely is a nice little perk if you leave them. A lot of buyers prefer them to be there, you know? So if possible, in your template, if you're really good, check them. But that's kind of one of those things, right? Additional items. All I can say is try not to include these. Please, as your broker, less is more, okay? Don't include personal property. Try not to include it, okay? Sun City, it's almost impossible to avoid, and it drives me nuts.
So if I can ask,
Yeah.
and this again, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to hear this, but, so say for example, you know, if they said, I want to sell my furniture, so if anybody, you know, if anybody walking in wants to buy it, that it's you, me, the agent, to say, well, okay, then let's just see what happens, but we'll just do maybe a letter that says between you and the seller, you and the buyer, this is an arrangement that will take place at close of escrow or whatever.
Right, and a separate bill of sale is what she's saying.
My only piece of advice is try to stay out of it.
Okay.
We don't do personal property, okay?
Okay.
And so if you imply at all that you are, okay, there's implied representation.
You're not a pawnbroker?
Exactly. Okay. Let's say you facilitate writing that letter. They will, and legally, the court will say, well, you took part in it, therefore they looked at you like the expert. Okay? You took it upon yourself to write this, you're responsible for it.
Okay.
And that is how the court will look at it. We don't do personal property. You implied that you were competent to do this. Don't imply anything. Stay out of it if possible. So, and I'm a booger. This is the only time I don't go above and beyond for my clients, because I want to stay as far away from this, knowing what I know, especially in broker school. I just stay away from it. Okay. So if you have to, cross that bridge, but try to leave me out of it.
It doesn't add anything to the experience.
I would love plausible deniability in this mix, and just try to make, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you want to write a letter and put all the stuff there, and if you want to have it at title, and you know, and if they want to just have a check, and if they want to do a list, you know, I stay out of it.
Okay.
I really just stay out of it as much as possible. That's all I can say. I could just keep going in circles about. It scares the living snot out of me.
Totally makes sense. I mean, like you say, the liability is,
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, you've seen the issues we've had with just washer dryers and fridges, much less
Garage sale contract.
other stuff. Exactly.
But if you
Yeah.
don't mind, go back up,
Yeah.
because I think it's number, no, where you have the sign or,
Oh, the lockbox?
yeah, the lockbox.
Yep.
Because it's really interesting. We had an agent that the seller refused to have a lockbox and actually refused to have a for sale sign on front and refused to do open houses.
And how motivated is that seller?
Yeah,
Wow.
and so in
Exactly.
6 months, nothing happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. Do you really want to sell your home or not?
Yeah, it's like, no.
If how many people showing homes? How comfortable are buyers walking through a home that the owner is right there?
Oh, not at all.
No.
do they feel comfortable talking about the house?
No.
And they'll always go up to the seller and be like, "You have a very nice home. Thank you very much for your time."
It's
You know,
awkward.
It's so awkward.
It's so awkward. When I bought, we looked at some houses and they're like, we showed up to one and they knew we were coming and they were having a kid's birthday party. Like kind of walking through the rooms and full of kids and stuff. And you're like, hi. And I remember leaving and feeling like, no way.
Exactly.
You can't even see the house. You can't see what the character could potentially be of the home. You can't have a vision in somebody else's living area.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
They also the house that we did end up purchasing tried to roll all of the furniture into the purchase price of the home.
Yeah.
And then tried to break it out into a bill of sale. And I'm like, hey, no. How about no? Just a house.
Yeah. Make it easy. Exactly. Yeah, that's it. You will have people that will fight those things, and you're gonna be your call as the agent. How much are you willing to work for a person who's not very motivated?
Okay, thank you.
And to kind of further that, to give you some ammo, our MLS lockboxes are about as secure can be.
It certainly is,
Yeah.
because it's Wi-Fi, there's recorded who's in your house at what time, for how many minutes, whatever.
Exactly.
To me, it's the safest way to go. I hate those little rolly boxes
Oh.
because they're not safe at all.
Exactly.
And some of
And that
those-
open door thing, you can just call them. Anybody can call them.
That's scary.
But
Yeah.
it is scary, but I think that the tactic that they use, like they use Alexa, right? And so it turns on and it records. When people use the app to open it, it records the conversation, it records the broker, or I mean the agent conversation with the customer. It also turns on like ambient music and the lights where the air freshener automatically starts going, so it uses Alexa to create this environment when they open the door. But sellers could do that with an Echo Dot or an Alexa or anything for an added sense of security. They could automate it so that when that lockbox or door opens, that
That's a good point.
they can record the activity,
That's
at
a
least
very good
audio
point.
activity.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And that
We
make
should
people
actually
feel safe.
mention
We should
that.
get one and try it. I don't have one. I don't leave them. I don't
Yeah.
have home recorded.
So what's the
Maybe we
I was
should know.
contemplating getting the
It's an
the
Alexa.
Google one. No, sorry, the Amazon.
Is it the Echo Dot?
Yeah.
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 So I don't know if you want to try it in office. I've never touched one or tried one. I just read I read articles about it, and they taught us about it in school.
So if I'm talking and all of a sudden this voice out of nowhere says, I just heard Rosie.
Did you see
Well, it's a mini robot. I don't
Oh,
think it's
okay,
gonna talk.
okay.
It's a small piece of
Okay.
equipment. You know what I mean? It's not gonna talk, but it can control timing.
All
Yeah.
right.
It can control, and that's
Yeah,
They
those
do a
little
lot.
things can do a lot. If you buy the light bulbs, you can connect it. You can do a bunch of different things.
yeah. And so sellers can do that. If
Yeah.
we can take it and test it and go, here.
Yesterday, I don't
say-
know how he programmed it, but a guy programmed. You know the Billy Bass, the fish.
Uh-huh.
He programmed it's either an Alexa or Google to that. And so instead of saying, "Hey Google," it's like, "Hey Billy Bass," and the fish turns. It's on its flag.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Okay, cool. I mean, technology.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
So yeah, my Google Assistant's working. Okay, so you definitely want to try to fight back if they say they don't want a lockbox, and if they say no sign, if it's a neighborhood thing, that's one thing.
Okay.
If they say no lockbox and no sign just because of principle, think twice because that's going to be a tough sell. Okay. Now, agency, this is where one of the best things about these is the agency relationship. Also, this is where you go into your fiduciary duty, okay? When it comes to a listing, having that agency relationship, having that fiduciary duty, knowing that I go into this big time because when you're listing, I want them to know I'm going above and beyond. And when I negotiate, I'm a tough negotiator, and I pride myself on taking great care of my clients, especially on the listing side. Just like this one, I went in there knowing that I was going to come really close to setting a record, and I prided myself on that, And the fact that Claudia and her husband now are, it's just neat, right? And so I take my agency relationships very seriously. That's why David and Joel, they were willing to pay me 40 grand at closing out of their pocket when I represented them as the buyers.
But even one of your investors, Harvey and Linda, when it came time to sell their house, it was the same thing. And I was so grateful to be able to kind of set the precedence for that neighborhood, because no other house was up for sale.
So that became
And
the
we got top dollar.
Yeah.
And she was just thrilled to death, especially since her brother and sister-in-law,
Boogers,
so anyway,
a little bit.
It
It's so funny how they were the opposites. The sister was older, and then you had the younger brother, wasn't it? I think, yeah. Interesting. But this is where I then segue into, here's where I'm also going to try to save you money, and I go into my spiel about if I happen to find the buyer, okay? And so this is where we segue down to, you can either write your incremental price drops here, but this is my standard spiel. In the event the listing agent procures an unrepresented buyer, the listing agent will then become a limited dual representative agent, and the commission will be 4% of the purchase price total. Okay? And that's my standard deal if I represent both sides. I get 1% more bonus, and my client saves 2%. So it's a win-win. That's my standard thing, knowing, as hard as I try, less than 1 out of 5, I'm going to actually find the buyer. That's the MLS, how many agents there are out there, how we do our advertising, the likelihood of them having an agent, pretty big. Okay? But
Does it, now when you're saying me, you mean my company, right? Because does she have to sign a dual agency when she's signing this for you?
only if it ends up happening. I can't predict what offer they're going to accept. So when we do end up getting offers, obviously at that time, the limited dual representation addendum, well, the limited agent addendum would be part of it. But right now, they're just acknowledging that I will lower my commission if this does happen.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it, yeah.
So it sets it up for when it does.
Yeah, and that's one of my selling points, because it just so happens in my last 3, I found 2. It was wonderful. Yeah.
With price reductions.
Through 124th, I was holding open houses like a beast. In Vistante, I was holding open houses like every weekend. And then Buckhorn, I did 3 or 4 there, and I found almost every time I found a buyer, it's been from advertising an open house, whether they actually showed up at the open house or not. It's been from that. Like, one couldn't make it to the open house and called me later, and I did a showing the next day. But she saw it from my ads. Exactly. So it's the exposure. That is it. Doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're exposing that listing. Yeah. So, okay. Any questions on that? All right.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta love listing agreement. Okay. So, boom, boom. We got down here to retainer. Nope. Do you know anybody that does retainers?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, my sister-in-law charges $350,
Okay.
and that's for her time, her advertising, her gas, whatever.
See, I've seen.
But also they
Couple.
charge 7% in Michigan, not 6%, so it's a different.
It's not local either. Okay.
No, she's in Michigan, but
Okay. I've only seen a couple people here locally. Instead of charging a retainer, what I see is that if they cancel the listing, there's a penalty. That one I see, but I don't see many retainers up front for money. I don't see it.
right.
Why?
On
Just
listings, it's just not
competition today.
typical here,
Yeah.
right? It's just
Yeah.
not
That's why
typical.
it's interesting.
If you
that
can
it
do
says-
it, wonderful. It
yeah.
protects you. But I've only seen like 2 people local that have done it or been able to do it. Really. Who was the agent who? We had this agent who came in. She was going to be my first Spanish-speaking agent. I was so excited. She came in, listed 2 homes.
Maria, Mary.
She had names. She had lots of names. I'm not trying to be mean. Like, she would tell people different names, and like Dad knew her as one name, you knew her as another name. It was,
Oh, I see.
but she was legit. She was an agent. I definitely did my research there. But she came in, sold 2 homes. She did retainers, and then she quit and moved. Like she's not even in the valley anymore. She just, but it was very quick. And she happened to have done, I think it was $300 retainers on both of hers. Yeah. So she was one of them. Unfortunately,
Well, it
she was
makes you
only with us
wonder
for 4
because it
months.
says, initial consultation, research and other services.
Stuff.
Because people always say, how much will it cost me? And it's like, right now, nothing, I just want your time, so.
Yeah, and that's part of why we have the agreement, because our risk is we don't get paid unless we sell it.
Right.
And that's why we have to protect ourselves with this agreement, because people can't just cancel.
So that's another place where we demonstrate where we're saving them money. So typically, listing agents charge $500 for the upfront costs,
Exactly.
but we're not gonna do that.
You got it. Oh, you nailed that
We're
segue.
only gonna
Perfect.
charge you 3.
You nailed this segue. And this is where having confidence, and forgive me, but balls to fight back is everything, right? Okay, because they will say, well, will you cut your commission? Will you cut your commission?
No.
What's your go-to response?
So
we
out
really
of
like
this,
what you have
what
to
all
say.
do you want me to cut out then? So
Okay,
in
that's a
other
good one.
words, it's kind of like, okay, you want me to advertise? Sure, okay, I'll cut that out.
There you go. Okay. In order for you to be able to do that, though, what do you need to bring with you to begin with?
Oh, what I'm going to be able to do for you.
Exactly.
Part of my
Having
list
your
here, yes.
standardized way of doing your listings. That is key. Okay? Because without knowing what you do that sets it aside or what you're going to be doing, people see their perspective. You're going to sit at home on your butt, because you show, 3 homes on TV before you sell a multi-million-dollar home and make $40,000, and then you spend all your time at parties, and that's what realtors do, right?
Sure.
We don't really work. Forget
But
how much time.
we like that idea, we like that picture.
Okay, so, for example, lockbox, right? Lockbox. How much is a lockbox today?
Oh, isn't it like $175?
Is it that high? I thought it was like 130.
Well, what's $45?
About 150.
It's somewhere between 120 and like around there. So let's say 135. I have no idea.
Watch
what
Michelle
they're
know.
at.
They're not
The
cheap.
answer- We try to buy our second used. That's because
Right, they do
That's
use
it.
ones too.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
because they're not cheap exactly. Okay, so right there, lockbox, $135. Okay, sign.
Oh my gosh.
Depending on the area where the home is.
75?
Anywhere from 40 to 75 bucks. Could be over 100 if they have to go out to like Black Union City or Buckeye or anything like that.
$20.
Yeah, anytime they have to go to an outskirt, they charge you more. So let's round it off and let's say 80. 80 bucks for the sign. Okay? And then if it takes a little longer, we have to renew it. Okay? So right there, right off the bat, we're over $200. And we haven't even done anything as far as the company and the brokerage, you the agent are concerned. These are all your expenses. You know what I mean?
So what do you mean the sign cost $80 for somebody to go out there and put it up?
To put it up with the writer, with the, okay, the type of sign you
That-
want.
I have that.
Well, we include it with what we do, because what we standard put on there is the white one that's nice, that you can put that has the tube for you to put the stuff in, and then we put your writer on, and then we put a secondary writer of whatever writing. I'm gorgeous, pool,
Yeah, so
whatever it might
we got
be.
the nice
That's
white ones with the little sign that could change on the top.
exactly,
Main
plus your
part
writer.
with the tube,
But
and
it's
then,
with the
Yeah.
big poles, so
Yeah.
that
So we
it
make sure
really
we
stands out.
do it right for you guys. It's not just a basic little sign, like we even give you the writer on top, yeah.
This is
So-
where you can come back with, when you start with.
a custom, yeah, a customizable
cutting
rider.
fees or
You can
saving.
pick what it
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, if it's got a pool, that's one of the things when you tell Tatiana to order the sign up, tell her what you want. Corner lot, pool. You know, I love saying pools because people can't see the pool in the backyard, but it's a hugely desirable factor. So that's one of the main ones.
Yeah.
Honey, stop the car. That's another good one. Okay, so we take care of the sign. So right off the bat, as an agent, before you even do anything, you're in at $200. Okay, So now let's just quantify the time, okay? Your average listing person, how long were you following up with them before you got that appointment?
Oh, I'm gonna say maybe a minimum of 6, or no, okay, before I got the appointment. It,
Probably, what, 3 or 4 months, most
yeah, I was
likely.
gonna say 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, so.
And hours of phone calls. So you're
Yeah.
probably into it probably at least 4 or 5 hours, and then you have your listing appointment and all that stuff, right? So on the side, you've probably got 5 hours worth of follow-up, you know, a 2-hour meeting, and then driving however many times, okay? So you have your time expense over here, okay, which is really hard for other people to quantify,
Right.
okay? So let's say you show up and you have your presentation, okay? So what are you gonna do to sell this home?
We're
Okay.
gonna be better than the other guys
So you did
How?
like the RPR?
by adding value.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but like what are you going to, because we take care of the signs and stuff, it's gonna go on the website, right? Oh, website, that's the other thing, because those things cost money. So let's just, what's your average website cost?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Let's say $300-400 a month for just a standard, because we don't pay for just the standard, we got the, we got a lot of upgrades on ours.
That's
I'm guessing
a good question.
$350?
I don't know.
As an agent, that's about what I was spending, okay? So then we got our website advertising, okay? So it's gonna go out to all those things too, okay? So beyond just the MLS, oh, MLS costs fees, doesn't it? How much does it cost to be part of the MLS per year?
300 and what am I getting ready?
What,
to pay?
324?
324?
Yeah.
354?
Okay, so divide that by a month.
320 something, I just did it.
Okay, it's about $35 a month.
Yeah, it's
So
324.
that's
Yeah, and then you got your, your realtor,
Yeah, it
dues
was,
and all that stuff, right?
It's not cheap.
So
yeah,
you
it
figure
was
that's about
a solid
60.
like $800-900.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you figure those are all factors because it's not free to be an agent to begin with. And you have to divide those costs up by however many sales you think you're gonna do. If you do 50 sales, it's really affordable. If you're only gonna have 4 sales a year, that's a couple $100 per sale. All right, just to be a realtor. So, okay, so these are all the costs associated with just doing this. Okay, and we haven't even gotten to the actual marketing of it yet.
Yeah.
So, for example, listing power tools, right? That's one of my favorite things for my listings, and it tackles 3 different things. I got that really cool writer to go underneath the big one. It says text to get more information, and it captures everybody right there. People love that writer, okay? That, with the packet it comes with, is $70, okay? On top of that, I do the online, I forget what they call it. It's like an awareness campaign where all the retargeting happens. So it goes out to like 30,000 people, and anybody that actually clicks on it, so like a couple hundred, it retargets for like 2 weeks and follows them through all their other websites and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite things in the world. That's $100, okay? And then my final piece of that puzzle is the actual Facebook ad thing that they do. Okay, because I just tackle as many things as possible, right? So, and that one is $100 as well. So if you add it all up, my listing power tools things are $279, and that's my standard spiel for every listing that I do. Okay, but that's my plan. If you want to do it, great. But you just need to know, because this is what you're going to tell your clients. This is how I'm going to get your home
What all
sold.
is in your listing power tools?
Do you have a packet in there?
It's just
I'm trying to think.
subscription.
I
It does
think I have one in my
and
trunk. Yeah, let me go check my
Yeah,
trunk
it's
really quick.
really worth showing.
Yeah.
Because what's nice is that, like when he was talking about the writer, is that when they text that number, and again, those are new leads that that come directly to you. And so you get to, follow up on those, because whether it's that house or something else, which is great. It has, like door knockers, it has door hangers, it has the actual flyers, it has like a postcard. I mean, it just has.
It's the quality you
Yeah,
can't beat it.
here, let me get it.
And this is $69, I think. I pay a monthly fee to be part of Listing Power Tools. That's why these things are so cheap, because I pay like over $2 a month just to be part of it.
Right. But do we have access through you, or do we have to get our own subscription?
Unfortunately,
You have to
get
get
your
your
Okay.
prescription.
yeah.
Prescription.
But I can get you a big discount on it, because I've been with them I was one of their original people years
Look
ago.
at it, it's really good.
So this is a bonus, and this is that extra.
Lift this up so you can see.
Every time I get a listing, I go to the neighbors and hand this out to them. And say, hey, check this out, I have your listing up the street, blah, 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 if you guys want to come on by. So I give these out to a bunch of people.
Got your card.
Thank you cards for everybody that comes to your open house.
Yeah. Then they give you your actual,
Now, these are called
like,
different
business
houses.
Yeah, these were kind of some of the leftovers I had from some of them. So you get like the A
leftovers.
cards to put in. This last one, yeah, unfortunately this is a prime example of why we're talking about putting it into your contract. Oh no, this isn't it, sorry, this is horrible.
So it gives you all this, so it gives you this variety of marketing
That one
collateral,
is
right? You
Yeah.
get all this variety of marketing collateral, but what is, and the retargeting, how does that work? Is
They're-
that part of
okay.
that?
It's from the same company, but they're different services this company provides.
Okay,
This is the power pack. If you want to get a listing, order one of these and take it with you. And just show them, this is what I do. And I literally break this down like I go and I will door knock all the nearest neighbors. Okay, this one I sold so fast, this one I sold like I found the buyers. And so this one,
You didn't even have time to go door knocking.
I handed out a bunch. I forget what I did, but yeah, I didn't use these for some reason. But yeah, so it has the door knockers, it comes with a variety of stuff.
you wanna get a listing, you get it, but you don't already
These
have
are
it
just-
you don't have it already printed with their address, do you?
They have a sample pack that you can buy.
Okay,
And
cool.
it comes with your logo and
yeah.
just generic materials for
Okay.
you to sell
To
this.
start,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the other thing, speaking of value, is like I created a list that said, here are 50 things that I will do for you.
There you go. And this would
then
be part
it
of
had-
it.
It has everything
Is he,
including this
are we
stuff.
counting each one of these items?
No.
This,
It's like, oh my
the
gosh.
writer would be
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Okay. This, the
The
door knocking and flyers would be
Uh-huh.
another. And then I would say that this little special thing that you could hand out to
Because
everybody that
this
comes
talks
in would
about
be
the
the separate.
neighborhood, yeah.
Because,
yeah. This
so,
is just so many great things.
you know, because this, the
And the
beauty of
thank
this, if you text this, it automatically captures your information.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to fill anything out. I automatically get a text. This phone number just inquired about your listing. And it automatically sends them a text, hey, thank you for inquiring. Would you like a showing? Would you like any more information? And then I get a call and it's like, hey, would you like to be connected to these people? Or just hang up and it will leave them a message or whatever. And the way they have their system set up leaves nothing falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's wonderful.
So, listing power tools, it's the monthly fee, so if you're not getting listings on a regular basis, it's hard to justify. Because for the premium membership, I pay $200 a month for it,
Huh?
but, you know, as long as you consistently have at least 1 or 2 listings, it's definitely worth it, you know what I mean? So, okay, so creating your list. Listing power tools, you could use that as one, and you got your like writer that you'll put on there. You have your door knocking. You have your neighborhood info. Okay, then you could do your, they call it like an awareness campaign. I wish I knew better because you don't get a lot of leads from it, but you get a crap ton of eyeballs, which repeated eyeballs definitely get results, but you won't get direct people with leads. It's kind of like doing a video, a virtual tour. You'll get thousands of views, but you're not going to get many leads.
Okay.
But those thousands of views definitely lead to
Something like
showings and other things from other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay, so your awareness campaigns. Then you have, what else do you do? For example, photographer. Do you have photographers come in? Do
Yeah.
you take pictures? No matter what, you have photography done on your listing, right? And that is something you can put down as part of what you do. Now, do you do video as well as photography? Because video is huge.
And on the video, it's kind of like, you know, when I walk up to the house, that I'm already videoing saying, guess what? You know, I'm going in for this listing presentation. This house is gonna be up for sale. You know, it's like already just.
I love you, Mom.
Oh, that's.
No, that's great. Exactly. That's one of the best things you could do, and I love that her videos are so cute. I love that she does
That's because
videos.
I'm upside down, it's like I forgot to turn my phone.
You're just so spunky, and that's what it's that attitude that gets it. People just know you're trying, and you know you're just gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Susan.
Because like one of the things that stand right in front of the house, right, and you literally just do your little
Your video.
Yeah, and it's like every single one. So before you go into your appointment, you show up like 15 minutes early, and then you just literally do the whole like, hey, this is Josh Ezell. I'm here in front of 223 Bird Street. Look at this house. It is fantastic. It's going to be coming on the market in about a week. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, about 1,600 square feet, and it's going to be a wonderful value. It's not going to last long. It's going to be listed here next week. If you want any information, get a head start. Give me a call. I'll talk to you later. Boom. Done. And you send that out before, and you actually take it in there and show your owners, like, hey, check out, I already made the video for you. Mind if I go ahead and send it out? The moment they say,
by the way, can I have your Facebook, because you can post it too.
yeah, you'll tag them on it and stuff like that. But the moment they say, yeah, go ahead and post it, you got it. And that actually happened on the last one. It was the coolest thing ever. It's like, oh, I can post it. Okay, cool. And, you know. So, doing videos and being that presumptive person, anticipating the sale is huge, right? Okay, so you got your video. So right now we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a list of 9 things right off the bat. Okay, open houses.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
A mega open house can be used as a grand opening. It can be used as just a huge thing, right? So from the moment you start, your video can say, hey, it's going to be coming up, so you can do like pre-tours and stuff, but almost plan ahead for a grand opening on your listing. You can do it this weekend with no hubbub, or you could plan, get your pictures done, do some pre-advertising for the following weekend, and have a big blast of a mega open house for your grand opening for that listing. Okay? There is definitely something to holding off for a couple days to put your ducks in a row before you launch it. Okay? A lot of people like, can you list it tonight? Sure, I can list it tonight, but we're not going to have our pictures, we're not going to have our video. It's going to, you know,
It's like, give me, because this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
In order to do it right and to do it well.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So I almost like the coming soon open house grand opening, like this listing's going live this Saturday, and we plan an open house for this Saturday. And you do all your, you know, you're in the MLS, you're coming soon, and you just advertise for that opening. And in showing time, you say not available, not available, not available, and then Saturday it's available. It's awesome, right? So okay, so open houses, those are huge. Some people don't like to be bothered with open houses as far as owners and agents, but as I just said, my last 2 that I did represent both sides came from open houses.
But it costs money to do that, you know, because you can't do an open house without snacks.
You can.
You can't. No, you can, but I mean a good one.
Exactly. Well,
I
and that's the thing.
had written down food, drink, advertising underneath it, so.
And there's no bad open houses, okay? All things being equal, we don't have storefronts, okay? So you can come into the office, make phone calls, that's awesome. You can be at home on your computer making phone calls, or you can put out 10 signs and sit at a listing and have people walk through your door while you're doing the same phone calls. When in doubt, find an office. And that's one of the coolest things is that you can pick just about any listing. You just need the permission to be able to do it.
So I wonder how that works, and I've been thinking about that. I actually, I walk my dog every morning, and I started just kind of taking pictures and coming home and looking it up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ride my bike around and kind of expand it, and I know I can do a search through the MLS. It's just entertaining me in my own way. But
Yeah. Well, Home Snap, that's a great app too.
I don't know what that is. But
Take a picture of the house.
so how does that? I was wondering, how does that actually work? You put your signage out on the street, and you're hosting an open house, but they've already got their sign. That's a different broker sign.
Yeah,
In the front. That sign stays,
that's on this. Yeah.
and you just put yours kind of around there.
You could put your rider underneath and you just surround it with our signs.
And
Okay,
the-
that's what, that's right, I was trying to
create-
picture.
I create my own flyer for that house and stuff, but it's like, you know, if I bring in a buyer for that agent, that's great, because
Yeah.
that helps me out, but not to mention, I'm creating people that I'm gonna follow up on.
Yeah. And that's the only catch is that, let's say you're doing the open house, okay, and it's not your listing,
Right.
but the buyers that come in have their own agent, you'd be the one that got left out of that
Okay.
mix. And that's the only downfall that could potentially happen by doing an open house
Right,
at
but
somebody
then
else's
you also
listing.
meet those
They
people.
come in already represented.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be the only one, in which case a good agent, listing agent, will still give you a referral. They don't have to, but a good one would. Okay? So, alright, so open houses,
25% of what I-
definitely huge. Okay? What else can we do? We got our, did we put our
Well,
website?
you've
Yep.
got, I
Yeah,
was
can
gonna
I ask
say
a
door to
question?
door.
Yeah.
Can you have that referral conversation before you agree to have open houses?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you never want to, if that's a question, you never want to leave it
That's
to
a good
chance.
one. Mhm.
I mean,
When in doubt,
are you
force.
allowed to have that conversation?
Absolutely.
That's like, okay.
Yeah. Not to get too deep into that open house conversation. The agents that you're going to be calling, if they're with our brokerage, I better not give you any grief. But anybody else, the only time that they're going to give you grief is because
They're not doing
they're
their
not
job.
doing it,
They're
and
not
they're going to
doing
feel intimidated by you doing it.
They're not doing it.
Okay? And
I'm
they're going to
watching
feel,
these houses sit
and they're going to feel,
with
and that's,
signage.
and they're going to feel intimidated because you're doing a good job, and it will make them feel bad and potentially give them a negative look in their client's eyes. If they know what's best for the listing, they will support it, and they'll be like, hey, one of my colleagues wants to do an open house this weekend, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you be okay with that? You know, and they will do a good job. But sometimes, and agents forgive us, but we're emotional people and we have egos. And so if you call 5 people for an open house, my guess would be 2, maybe 3 of them are not going to be the most cordially welcoming to you. Don't take offense at it, okay?
No, I know how to, I know sales and marketing.
Yeah.
You're just looking for the diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
The rest doesn't matter.
And then push comes to shove, it's an amazing home. Here's your trump card, okay? Every listing is the brokerage's, okay? I guarantee if any agent calls me, as long as they're an agent with their license, I will never poo-poo them wanting to do an open house at any of our listings, given the owners are okay with it. Okay?
Yeah,
And so push comes to
is
shove
that a
with your,
suggestion?
Yeah, I was gonna show
Yeah,
you this
I
was.
think I'll start in my neighborhood in the thousands.
all right.
But what I love about the open houses is say like, you know, one of the things about working, say, with Tony is that he can help create the flyers, so that week before, because maybe, you know, 3 days before or 2 days before, I'm gonna canvass the neighborhood. And so again, to make the flyers or the door hangers or whatever it is, to pass out about my open house. And so again, the advertisement, and who knows that you come across somebody that may not know that that house is going up for sale. It's like, have you thought about selling yours? And so it's like a win-win, no matter what.
Okay. Now, here's where we can start getting a little creative, okay? Do you have a database?
Yes.
Everybody does, right? And it will grow as you get more and more contacts, more and more agents, more and more people you meet, more and more leads in your database. So you will send out definitely ads to your database and your people. She has the buyers. What's her name? No, Gerchik. No.
Wendy, no.
Who's the agent? And she advertises that she's got the buyers.
Not Wendy.
What's her name?
Sharon,
Susie Show, I forget. But basically, that's her whole thing, is that she's got the buyers. I have a list of 6,000 buyers right now. I have 6,000.
Bruce advertises for her.
Exactly, yes.
I know.
He bought his house from her and she got in, exactly, yeah. But that's all she has, is a website that brings in leads, and in her database, she has about the same amount of leads that we do.
Right.
And that is that, okay? So
But she's advertising that she has buyers even though they're just leads.
she has the buyers, yeah, but that's all they are. Everybody is every
that's all-
lead we get is basically it's a
all it
buyer
is.
lead, yeah.
That's all.
It's how
it
you
is.
manipulate the information. Okay, put it this way. Okay.
Everyone's-
Hey, if I can't
everyone's
sell your house, I'll buy it.
Right.
For that one, right?
Yeah.
Well, what are the terms of me buying your house? That is key.
Clearly undefined.
Ah,
Yeah,
alright.
but only 10% of that actually happens. I went to that seminar that I hated so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see? It's all in how you sell how you just give the information to the public. If I can't sell it, I'll buy it. Yeah, I'll buy it for 25% off, and you pay all the closing fees, and it's, you can do the same thing. And if they're willing to accept your terms, if you can't sell it, great. There's so many ways to
And
manage
this
that.
is just a little tidbit, but sometimes our PR at this point could be a little
Ooh.
useful that you were working on today.
Okay, and that's where you can customize your stuff. RPR has a bunch of neat things. You can do neighborhood stuff, you can send that out to a lot of the area, you can do comps, there's a lot of stuff. So you can use RPR as one of your things in general,
What is it?
right? Realtor Property Resource.
I
And
sent you a
It's
couple
in,
emails
uh,
today.
I wasn't able to get to it.
Oh, okay. Well, I did a property report for you on your house, on my house.
I saw your Danny one, but I didn't look at mine. I just looked at
Oh.
mine.
I see.
yeah, it's been sitting there, like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's high pollution today.
Yeah.
It's bad.
All
The
right.
last 2 days.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sure.
All right, so we got RPR. All right, in other words, just cool stuff that you can do research and send it out to people. Okay. Now, here's where again, the more you have on your list, the more clout you have with your people, right? So you can do Facebook. You got Instagram. You've got everything that you use. YouTube. Some people
Sometimes
use
Twitter,
Snap,
sometimes
Twitter.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you really want to break it down, each one of those is a different thing.
All right,
Okay.
it is.
Um,
And it takes time,
exactly.
and
Now-
time is money.
Now, what are some? Man, my brain's just not working properly. Okay, so we got your door knocking, we got your neighborhood.
Well, that doesn't include, because like and I don't know if you did like the ads, but you're talking about then doing Real Geeks, creating the ad specific for that.
Oh,
possibly.
syndications.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Syndications. Yes. So we got our website, we got the MLS, but it'll go out on Realtor, Zillow, Trulia, whatever however many they have that we partner with. Okay. Oh, neighborhoods. That's it. Okay. So, now keep in mind you're gonna have to do these things if you're gonna advertise them. Okay. But we can do neighborhood blasts. In other words, have you ever done the reverse prospecting in the MLS?
No,
Okay.
I know what you're talking about because Charlotte explained it. The title company we don't have to do bulk mail anymore.
Oh, Every Door Direct. No, that's a different one. No, that's a whole different
Oh,
thing.
that's
on
a whole
top of it.
different one?
Yes, yes.
Woo!
Good job. Okay, so Every Door Direct. That's awesome.
That's called what?
Every door direct.
Every Door Direct.
That's where
Mailer.
you do the mass
EDDM.
mailing, you pick the neighborhood that you want to go through, and again,
Okay.
Right, 'cause I
whatever
was
partner
thinking
you're
we'd have
working
to
with,
bulk
then,
mail and-
yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to spend $300 a month to go out to my neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
and that same thing now with Every Door Direct is under $100 and it goes out to 200 more people.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
big difference, and that was with a bulk mail permit too.
And it's by the US
Yeah.
Postal Service.
Yeah.
It's a service of the US Postal
Yeah.
Service.
It's nice.
Okay, so right here in the MLS, okay, where is it? Reverse prospecting, okay?
Okay.
Under your menu, you'll see it there. Now, what's interesting about this is well, in your opinion, what is reverse prospecting?
It's looking up by address, isn't it? Looking up by zip code. Like a reverse, I don't know, I'm just thinking about a reverse directory.
Instead of
And
saying,
you're looking up names
yep,
or
And
addresses.
looking at, like, say in the neighborhood, when did they buy their house, and what's the possibility that they might be ready to sell?
okay.
Or
Yeah.
would you be interested, because I need,
So
my
instead of having
buyer needs a
Like
home.
an analytical tool.
We have
That
our property
projects
that we
them.
send out to everybody, right? And it's hard to track. Well, here MLS will actually say, hey, these are all the people in the MLS that have been searching for a home that fits your criteria, that fits your home's criteria. And so right now it's doing a search in the MLS for all the agents who have clients that have done searches for my listing, basically.
Okay.
And then it'll, it takes a minute, unfortunately, but when it eventually it'll give you a list of all the agents to call, saying, so you can call them, hey, you have clients that are looking for something similar to my listing. You might want to send out a blast to your group of people. And unfortunately, it doesn't tell them exactly. Well, there you go. So this one only has 3. Yeah.
So you couldn't email them?
Yeah, email them, and those are the agents. And you just let them know, hey, your clients are looking at my house. You know, something like that.
Yeah, I call and say, we
That's
just did a
nice.
price reduction.
That's
you know.
really, that's not that many. I would have thought there would have been more. I'm really
Well,
surprised at that.
what's the property on this?
Now, wait a
one?
minute, does that mean they use the lockbox to show their client?
No, these are literally these agents. So Raul has a
different
portal
sections.
set up in his database, and some of his clients
Oh, it's-
have looked at my house. Okay, so Jill, Bill, and Raul, I could call them, and that's just one more tool we have. And it's not cold, it's warm-ish. They'll always say that they don't know which one it is, but that's why I say, just you probably want to send a blast out of my listing, if you don't mind, to your database, because somebody was looking, somebody's interested. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I have like 400 or 500 people. Every day at 6 o'clock, I get about 60 portal updates every morning and night.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I wouldn't know which one of my people were looking at stuff either. But that's the goal. Have more leads than you know what to do with, right? Okay. So I would add reverse prospecting. That would be another good one.
Okay.
And that would be one that, yeah. Okay? And then, yeah, every door direct. So you can actually target and, oh man, there's 2 different places to do this, and we can go down so many rabbit holes when it comes to listings. There are several databases that track movement from one place to another. Okay, so for a while there was a huge group of people moving from the suburbs back to in town. Okay, and so if you had a listing in town, it actually benefited you to advertise in Buckeye because people were tired of the commute and they were moving back to the center of town. There are lots of those companies and programs available to target who's moving to your area. Okay, that would be another one to do, like all your analytics as far as those things. So like every door direct, if you get a listing, you can do your neighborhood, right? But what's the likelihood of them specifically moving within their neighborhood to another home?
In the same neighborhood?
Yeah.
No.
No, they'll have family, friends, other people, but exactly. So if you utilized that analysis, oh, everybody that's moving from here is moving from like California, Mesa, or whatever, you could actually target those people and send that ad over there. Okay? And it doesn't happen a lot, but you'll find that, for example, I was trying to remember which one it was. There was, it wasn't Sundance, it was one of the other neighborhoods in Buckeye. But for some reason, a lot of them were moving to Happy Valley, that area. And so,
Shirley.
that-
Isn't her name Shirley?
I forget.
Okay, never mind.
But nonetheless, that was the first time I'd heard about this because somebody told me about it. They're like, hey, did you know that almost everybody that's moving here is moving over to this part of town? I was like, really? And that's how I found out about it. And so they just started advertising over there, and they've sold out this neighborhood over here.
Huh.
So,
So what is the name of that?
I don't know. There's companies.
Okay.
I don't.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
the one. I don't know the name of it. There's a
Okay.
bunch of them that, because
There are a bunch of them, yeah.
it's like Cole does something like that. Cole Realty does something like that, but not exactly. Cromford, I know they do a lot of those studies.
Right.
People moving inside the valley. Yeah, Cromford is huge. They're the people over at ASU, and they do all your local real estate reports and facts and stuff like that. They're amazing. Next to the MLS stat report, they're probably the best to hear about. So what else can we add? So you got every door direct. You definitely want to utilize it in some capacity, but let's say we got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So here's a list of 20 right off the bat, things that you do to sell homes.
Okay,
Do you have yours by chance?
I'd have to go print it out real fast, but.
Okay. Can you print it off sometime this week so we can have it next week?
Yeah.
Would that be cool?
Absolutely.
okay, so in the package, all together, we need the ER
Yep.
and
Oh.
agency.
And now, the comp, the actual comp itself,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry,
let's wrap this up. That works. Okay, so I wanted to give you an idea of put something together like this, okay? And fine tune it because this is what you're going to need, all right, to get the appointment. And try to practice, okay? If you want, call any of us and practice your listing presentation a few times before you need to use it on a person, okay? And it'll give you, and even if you don't want them to say anything, you just want to formulate it yourself, it's invaluable. I can't tell you, it's just the best thing in the world, okay? To be able to start going through comps, and that's where I'm gonna kind of tweak these just a little bit because I really want time one day for you guys to sit down and you actually do listing presentations together.
Yeah,
And go through it. Like you present to her and actually give your feedback and go all the way through it. You know, I want to get us to that point.
and if I can ask, one of the things that I like on open houses, I say, at the minimum, I will do an open house every other week.
Yeah.
And, but I did have one particular one that it wasn't selling, and I said, all right, you have my commitment, I'm gonna do one every week for a month. And I actually brought in the buyer the first week, and so the third week we had an offer
Yeah.
and stuff, but because I was doing more often open house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Face-to-face contact is the best thing. Open houses are the only time you get face-to-face with people. And once you get face-to-face, you're 80% likely to get them. They're not going to find somebody else. And that's why if you get a lead, I always say try to just show them that one house. If they inquired about a house, hey, you inquired about Bird Street, that house is awesome. Are you free tomorrow to go take a look at it? Just start there. And
But that's why taking this, because if they wanna fuss with the commission, it's like, all right, so which of these can we start, do you wanna leave out?
exactly. And that was the climax here.
Yeah.
So once you have this list, you have everything because every one of these has a dollar amount associated to it. It has some time or effort, and I know that I door knock for a reason. I open doors, I open houses for a reason.
Keep you talk,
I know
huh?
what you open for what reasons, okay.
Turn it red, honey.
Video, picture. I tackle it all. Why do I tackle everything that I possibly can?
Because you give 110%, because you wanna walk away with the deal.
I don't know where the buyer's going to come from.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tackle every single thing to ensure we find that buyer. Plain and simple. And if you eliminate this, well shoot, what if that was where the buyer's going to come from? I can guarantee what I guarantee because of this whole thing. The moment you start taking away parts, there goes my guarantee. And that's how I set the record is I know this works. I've done it for years and I've perfected it every single time. I change it just to hopefully make it better every time. And that is why I could walk in confident, know I'm worth my commission, know that, all these things add up. And so start practicing that immediately. The best. Okay, so what you need for your listing agreement is just that. It's the ER, the one that we discussed, okay? The only other things that you really need to know about that right off the bat, okay? So, cooperating brokers, the more you compensate them, hate to say it, the more it gets shown. If you compensate them 1%, it's not going to get shown as much as if you compensate them 3%. It's just one of those things. So that's the other thing. When you do it for 4% commission, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the realities of the situation. Unfortunately, all things being equal, if the neighbor up the street with the exact same house is paying 3% and you're only paying 2%, which one's going to get shown? It's not a matter of the houses, it's literally you have all things being equal, which one's going to get shown? And I hate to say it, but that's the truth. As much as we hate to say it, and that's where people have a hard time with commissions, okay? and we could have a whole thing about that later on. But the truth is, if you have 2 homes to show, which one are you gonna show?
One was paying 3%.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
All right.
it depends on a whole lot.
After I
of things,
read
but just
how
give
much
you
the
that
homeowners
information.
Just that limited information, there's 2 homes available, all things being equal, same thing with the car. Okay, like, and this is when you're doing your presentation, it's like, okay, so you have X car with leather interior, navigation, parks itself, does all this great stuff for 30 grand. And then you have this one that it's nice, just has about 25,000 miles on it, has navigation, has leather interior, but it's not brand spanking new, for $28,000. Okay, which one's worth? Is that one worth $2,000 more or whatever? You know what I mean? You
Right.
do that right analogy, it shows what should be done, I guess.
Is it always, like, literally every time a pushback?
Not every time, no.
It's not,
No.
it's not just a commonly understood value-added service that's, I
It-
know there's different types of competition, I know there's different websites and different things going on, but it's a value-added service.
Yep. Here, ask me what my commission is.
Wouldn't you already have it in there?
Well, no,
Have that populated?
notice mine is, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, but just in general, I'm going to give you 2 different situations and tell me which one you think. And this is where the agent dictates a lot of it. Okay, so be a hardcore seller and ask me what my commission is.
Okay, what's your commission?
It's 6%, if that's okay. And we give 3% to the other agent. Okay. Okay, is that allowed? You know, that's so many agents. That is so many agents. It's bad. Okay. Now on the flip side, ask me again.
What's your commission?
Oh, it's 6%. Any other questions?
Right?
You know,
Right.
it's
Well,
very
6%.
yeah. And if they're like, well, will you work with me on it? And then I might, but notice how it's a question. I answered very matter of fact.
So it's 6% and you give 3% to the other agent, and that goes in the listing.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be 3%.
That's the industry standard.
You can take 4 and give the other person 2. You can
But
take
that's
3
what I'm
out.
saying,
Yeah.
if you go, oh, you work with me, you can take 1 away from your,
Yeah.
Right,
if
exactly.
you needed to.
If I
Yeah.
bring,
Or a half.
if I bring
So
the
you're-
buyer
you're
in,
deciding,
I'll cut the
that.
seller's side.
Okay.
Yep. And
Because you're
that's
gonna bring another 3%.
But it's the same thing as far as incentive. They're not gonna bring their buyer for 2% if they
And
bring
that's
the
it.
next house for 3. It's the
exactly.
same thing.
You have buyers that are going to be showing homes, and if there's 5 homes available in that neighborhood, I hate to say it, but chances are a bonus or commission will dictate. There's only so much time in a day. We're going to look at these 3, and that. So you never want to like force it in that way, but you definitely want to make sure they're aware that it definitely behooves you to compensate agents. Okay, it really, really, really does. Well, what if we give them a $2,000 bonus? Well, if they get that far and read it, but again, it's not going to be, it's just one of those things. So when it comes to listing, just try to get the best price possible and then try to get the best commission you can finagle. And back in the day, we used to do it where it was a minimum buyer broker. So like, for example, if we sold an $80,000 home, if it was a short sale, you'd be working for 6 months for 2.5%. Okay? At that moment, it wasn't worthwhile. So in the fall, we actually put in a minimum buyer broker where if the listing agent didn't compensate us at least $2,000, $3,000, the buyers would actually pay the difference of that commission. Okay? So on the listing side, they are paying the full commission. So that's why they care, because they're paying the buyer's commission and everything. So you really have to show them why it behooves them to compensate the other party. Okay, buyers, they don't care because they just don't. So that's where it's up to the agent to actually find the homes that they're going to look at. It's one of the dirty things, and we should have the meeting. I forgot about a video I wanted to show you guys. I'll send it to you tonight. We've been talking about iBuyers and all that good fun. And right now with our people, you're hearing a lot about how they're actually giving competitive offers and stuff. No,
They're not.
this thing is amazing. Actually, Do you guys have any other questions? Because this.
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah.
Mine is, what all besides the ER do we take in the listing package?
Simply your agency and your
Market
your
conditions.
listing agreement are pretty much the only. Your listing agreement is the only thing that's truly needed. Okay, that is a listing agreement. Now your agency, that will dictate and further that you're representing those people. The market condition, it's the extra addendum that you need. The mold addendum is, again, actually no, that's buyers, sorry. But literally speaking, the MLS is not part of the listing. You can take a listing and never put it in the MLS. So,
Right, and this is where you'll need the specs with them to go in and fill out.
Yeah.
there.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Spudge, right?
yeah,
And
so
then you'll ask
it's,
for the food.
the literal listing agreement is literally just the listing agreement. You'll include the market conditions
Exactly.
and your MLS in your agency, okay? That's what you'll put in there. Now, everything else is extra. So your listing stuff, you want your listers, or your owners, man, I cannot talk tonight. Your owners to fill out the spuds. You want your owners to get their insurance claims history, and then you'll want them to fill out the HOA agreement, or addendum, okay? So you'll have these 3 or 4 for the listing, but then you're gonna leave these 3 over here with them to fill out.
Okay. But what about the Plano?
That is,
Cause they gotta initial that too.
it depends, okay, they do, kind of. Here's how
They have to initial and sign it.
the way you input the listing
Uh-huh.
dictates how you're gonna dictate the details of your paperwork, okay? I never go into zip forms and input anything. I actually go into the MLS up front, even before my listing appointment, because I'm optimistic. If you anticipate, you're gonna get it, right? So I always go into the MLS and basically copy and paste. And this is where I'll show you how to do it, rather than tell you what it is, because that's just gonna confuse you. We copy from the MLS onto our paperwork, so we don't actually have to fill it out. So I send that to my people later on, or I take it with me. But usually I just e-sign it later on, because I copy it directly from the MLS.
Okay, I see.
Okay. Yeah, fortunately, we never have to
Yes,
fill
I
out
used
an
to,
MLS final by hand ever again.
I would, cause I would do everything in writing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd do everything and print it and then just leave the purchase price and the signature are the only things that,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah. So if it's been in the MLS before, this is one of the greatest things. Like you go into it, right? Under edit listing. It's not technically under edit listing, but right there you got input form. Okay? And you just go in there and print off the input form. And rather than having to actually input everything in the MLS, you can copy. And so we'll show you how to.
And then
Cheap.
you go in and just tweak what is
Yeah.
specific then to that.
So then you just print this off, and you can either upload this into eSign or just take it with you. Okay. Yeah. So it makes it easy, fortunately. Okay. So all right. Any other questions on the listing side for right now?
So you've already done like the comps during the conversation, because aren't you during that trying to determine what the listing price is gonna be? So you've already had that conversation and presented with the comps, so you're bringing that with you too?
That by the time you're actually going through the documents, you've usually already kind of talked about that.
Okay.
Normally I walk in, they show me around the house, okay? You know, we kind of BS just for a little bit, and I'm one of those people that, hey, Mr. and Mrs., blah, 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 how's it going? And then we just chat, okay? And then I'll just keep chatting until they say, hey, so do you want to take a look around the house or whatever? I always make sure they bring it up, okay? I'm like, yeah, please take me on the tour. And they take me on the tour of the place, and then when we finish up, I say, okay, so where would you like to sit? And usually I'll try to get them where we're kind of sitting kind of like this, not like across, you know, because I always like being next to each other. And, you know, it's one of those details. So from there, then I start going into my spiel. And it could either be starting off with comps if I feel like they're an engineering type just give me the facts and let's be done with it. Or if I think that they need some selling to know what I'm doing, then I'll start into, okay, so here's what I plan on doing to help get you what you need. And just go through it, right? And then I'll go into, whenever I find the best segue possible, that's when we go into the actual price, because that's when the nitty gritty is gonna happen. You know what I mean? There was one.
Well, that's the beauty of doing the comps, because it means you've done your homework, and so you can discuss with them.
Yeah, ask Molly. There was one night, I was at a listing appointment in Surprise, and I swear I didn't know it was 3 hours. I had no idea. Molly was so awesome. She sat there, she did her homework, and this owner and I were back and forth for 3 hours on negotiating.
Impressed.
Just on everything.
Everything.
Everything. So that was hands down my longest one. But we got the listing. We did get the listing, and he's actually my reverse mortgage guy. One of my hardest listing appointments ever. But yeah, so yeah, and that's where just practicing it, because you're gonna find what works for you. You know, some people, everybody has their own way of doing it. Yeah. Okay, so here's the iBuyer presentation, and this is so cool because they're everywhere now. Open Door, OfferPad.
Tucson is like totally open door. There
It's
must not be any
ridiculous.
agents living in Tucson.
So, Mike Beckham is a member of Listing Booster.
Yeah.
Okay, so I emailed him for this because I want all of us to have this. Helping buyers, helping sellers. This affects us on every level, and that's why it kind of coincides tonight. So, yeah, if you guys can take off whenever you need this. We'll just wrap this up here.
Hello, welcome to the National Real Estate Post. Frank Ray here. Before we get started, I want to let you know loan originators don't lose a ticket. Can you use to help your real estate agents beat the whole iBuyer thing, right? And as a real estate agent, it's a presentation that you'll be able to use to compete with the iBuyers and expose them for being more expensive than you when you might have a seller who's potentially looking at an iBuyer to sell their home to. So with that, we'll hand it off to Brian. After the presentation is done, we'll tell you how you can get your hands on it. So here goes. Brian, take it away.
Today more than ever, homeowners now have more options when it comes to selling their house. Should a seller work with a traditional real estate agent or one of these faster, cheaper, better iBuying companies? See, you have to understand that there's new heavily financed technology-based companies that have jumped into real estate. And I really wonder, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Now these iBuying tech-based companies, the ones we're most familiar with are Open Door, OfferPad, and Zillow, and it's the option of selling your house with one of them or working with a local real estate agent. So let's get into it. Well, for a homeowner to make the best choice, they need to answer just a few simple questions. 1, how do I make the most money? That would be my biggest one. 2, who's going to give me the best service? 3, am I being dealt with honestly? And 4, does my choice help or hurt the community that I live in? After all, the vast majority of home sellers become home buyers in the exact same community that they're selling their house in. So let's look at this. Well, how to make the most money? This one's pretty easy. A seller only needs to consider 2 variables. 1, who is going to buy my house for the most money? 2, who is going to charge me the least to help me sell my house? If we can answer these 2 questions, we've pretty much got it figured out. So let's jump into it. So Open Door, OfferPad, and Zillow do not charge what they deem a commission. I call it a commission by another name because it's your money they're taking. So just to make everything as clear for sellers to understand, I'm going to refer to all the direct fees from all 4 of the options as commissions because that's what they are. So Open Door is charging 7.5%. OfferPad is charging 7.5%. Zillow is charging 7%. And your local professional real estate agent on average right now in 2018 is charging 5.08%. So it doesn't take a mathematician to figure this one out. Open Door is not the best option, neither is OfferPad, Zillow. It is, strangely, your local professional real estate agent. Now, I want to break this down to show you that what we're talking about is actually true. Again, about the facts. So with Open Door, if you sold a $300,000 house at 7.5% commissions, you'd be charged $22,500. It's the same $22,500 for OfferPad, and Zillow would be a cheaper $21,000 commission. When you're working with the average real estate agent commission for 2018, the cost of selling that same $300,000 house at 5.08% would be $15,000. $15,240. So you're gonna save about $5,000 to $7,000 if you're working with a local real estate agent. Plus, I almost forgot here, there's unknown fees. We're gonna get into this when you're working with Opendoor, OfferPad, and Zillow. With a real estate agent, don't have any hidden costs. Now, are you surprised by that? Because I kind of was when I got into this. Now, the first one, Opendoor, this is an example from a real offer that was given by Opendoor to a real seller. And you can see they call it an experience charge of $19,434. This is 7.5%. Again, this is why I'm calling it a commission by another name. This has the same bottom line effect as a commission. You'll also notice they have this seller repairs at $6,210. Let's just forget about that for now. And they got an Opendoor market risk, a term I have never heard of in my 30 years of real estate, of almost $5,000. Again, this is from an actual offer from Opendoor to a seller. Here's an actual offer from OfferPad. We have over here, it's called a credit. Credits are kind of a positive thing, don't you think? Well, you have to understand it's a credit to them and it's a charge to the seller. And as you can see here from the actual offer, it's 7.5%. They also have repair credits. Don't know what that is either, at $5,700. With our real estate agents, I went to NAR and I started looking at what real estate agents would charge for their commissions. And you can tell over the years that commissions fluctuate. That's because market conditions fluctuate. That's because market conditions fluctuate. And understand, real estate agents, their fee is in fact negotiable at 5.08%. So let's do a compare and contrast here on how to make the most money. The iBuying platform makes more money when the seller makes less.